Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down the big ideas. Today, we're talking about a pretty radical shift happening in software development, one that's turning coders into something entirely new: AI product managers.
So let's just start with a question that really gets to the heart of this whole transformation. For decades, the answer was pretty simple, right? You had an idea, you learned a programming language, and then you painstakingly translated that idea into syntax a machine could understand. Well, that's all changing, and that change is exactly what we're going to unpack today. To really understand where we're going, we first have to look at where we've been, and that's the world of traditional programming. This was a world all about the details, about deep expertise in the mechanics of implementation. Yeah, for decades, programming has been all about the how. A developer's value was really measured by their mastery of syntax, their deep knowledge of libraries. But this new paradigm, it flips that completely on its head. The focus is now on the what and the why. It's kind of like a move from being a craftsperson, totally focused on the individual bricks, to being the architect who's focused on the entire building. So how did we even get here? Well, this fundamental shift is powered by a concept that has just exploded, moving from a niche experiment to the mainstream. It's a whole new way of thinking about how we create software.
It's called vibe coding. And the core idea is actually simple, but it is so profound. You describe, and the AI builds. Instead of writing code line by line, you communicate your intent. So, for example, instead of writing a bunch of complex SQL, you might just say, hey, show me our top 10 performing products from last quarter in a bar chart. You focus on the goal, the AI handles the nitty-gritty execution.
As its originator, Andrej Karpathy, put it, it's about getting into a state of flow where your intent translates directly into a working product. I mean, this isn't really about making coding easier. It's about making the act of creation more immediate, more direct. And look, this isn't some distant future we're talking about. This timeline shows an incredibly rapid evolution, from just a single tweet in early 2025 to a whole mature ecosystem by today, March 2026. This idea has taken hold with unbelievable speed, and it's fundamentally changing how fast products can actually be built. Okay, so what does this actually look like in practice? It's not some magic button you press. It's an iterative, collaborative process. Really, it's a conversation between you and the machine. Now, what's really interesting here is the loop. It all starts with you defining your intent. Then, the AI generates the code, which you immediately run. Maybe it's not quite right, so you give it feedback, something like, the sorting is wrong, it should be chronological. And the AI iterates. This cycle, generate, verify, feedback, that is conversation as development. And I gotta say, the most critical part of this whole loop is step 5, the human review. Your role shifts from writer to editor, from creator to curator. You're the one making sure the AI's output is logical, secure, and actually correct. Of course, this new way of working is supported by a whole new ecosystem of incredibly powerful tools, and each one is designed to make this human-AI collaboration just a little bit smoother. So now, developers get to choose their tools based on what they need to do. In a tool like Cursor, you might start with a really vague prompt, like build a simple photo gallery app, just to get a prototype up and running fast. But for a critical enterprise system, you'd probably use a tool like Hera, which actually demands a precise specification up front before it generates a single line of code. It's this whole spectrum from pure vibe all the way to structured engineering. And behind all these tools are the brains of the operation, powerful large language models, each with its own specialty. A developer might choose Anthropic's Opus 4.6 because it's amazing at acting like an agent, or they might pick Google's Gemini when they need the AI to understand and refactor a huge entire codebase all at once. But, and this is a big but, this exponential efficiency comes with a whole new set of challenges and risks that you absolutely have to manage. With all this great power comes the need for some really great oversight. The sheer ease of creation can lead to these messy, insecure code bases that are basically impossible to maintain, what a lot of us are calling black boxes. And there's also a very real risk that developers who rely too much on these tools might start to lose those fundamental skills of coding and debugging from scratch. So this brings us to what might be the most important question for anyone working in this field today. If the AI is the one writing the code, what is the value of the human? The answer, it turns out, lies in a complete redefinition of the developer's role. It's not about being replaced, it's about being elevated from a technician to a strategist.
And this just brilliantly illustrates that transformation. You're shifting from being an actor who reads lines to being the director who has the vision for the entire film. Your value is no longer in how many lines of code you can write. It's in the quality of your vision, your ability to define the problem, and your judgment in guiding the AI to the right solution. What's really essential to grasp here is that your core skills are no longer just about syntax. They're about clear communication through things like prompt engineering, a critical review of the AI's work, and a deep strategic understanding of the big picture. This is the new job description. And that foundational knowledge in system design and security, it becomes even more valuable because you're the woman who has to sign off on the final product.
Ultimately, this is all about getting back to the very essence of creation and problem solving. It frees developers from the tedious parts of the job to focus on what humans do best: having the vision, asking the right questions, and making those critical judgment calls. So to wrap up, we'll leave you with this thought. The future doesn't belong to the fastest coder anymore. It belongs to the best collaborator and the sharpest thinker. The value has shifted from what's in your hands to what's in your head. Thanks for tuning in.